Hey guys, so I'm back after a work trip and attending an overseas wedding, and today we're doing another update, which is gonna be a bit of a weird one. I'll first start off with one good news and one really bad news. Let's start with the good one, as that one is quick and easy, and that is that I've now gotten Chrono Field unlocked. Yay! Okay, that was easy for the good news. Now let's get into the much longer and complicated bad news. Basically, as a result of the game save mechanism being wonky, I've just lost about 2 weeks of progress, and it's a weird one. First of all, as followers of this channel knows, I run the game on BlueStacks on my desktop computer, and I have a software, Google's Remote Desktop, that I can use to connect to my desktop from my phone, and even from the laptop to the desktop whenever I'm away. So that's all fine and nice, and whenever I'm overseas or not working from home, I just check in on the AFK orb Devo runs every now and then, which is quite chill and easy. However, as some of you saw me posting about 10 days ago, early in my overseas trip I lost internet access to my desktop, which meant that I couldn't connect to it anymore. And this later turned out to be because of a power outage that made the desktop turn itself off. That in and of itself was slightly annoying, but fine, as I could run the game at least some on my laptop during my trip, but just not 24/7. And so it wasn't going to be 100% efficient, but better than nothing. So that's what I basically then did for the next 10 days or so until I came back home yesterday. Yesterday though, wow. As I know that the save mechanism in this game is wonky, I was anxious when opening the game again on my desktop, but in order to make sure that no issue would arise, I had my laptop game also open and saved so that if for some reason there was an issue of opening the desktop game, I could always revert it back on the laptop version. Because sometimes when you open another device, instead of fetching the latest save, it itself can make a save when it launches up. But so if that were to happen, I could just save again on the laptop again and keep trying to get the right save onto the desktop. However, what happened was that somehow the opposite occurred, which was surreal. I opened the desktop game and it didn't fetch the latest save and instead saved itself and triggered my laptop to also update to the desktop version after just seconds of opening the desktop, which was just completely bizarre. As a result, I have ended up in a very weird situation where I've basically lost tons of progress over the last 10 days with no way to revert it. Tons of labs, thousands of gems, about 400 medals lost, and so on. And what is extra weird and interesting is that some things have seemingly not been lost. Somehow, though most things are lost, cells have not been lost but also not used, so I'm staring at 2 million cells now. And the same for coins and reroll shards. Every workshop upgrade I did is no longer there, but a part of the coin remains. And same with reroll shards, where every actual reroll I have done, such as for my dimension core, that progress is lost, but I got a fair bit of the reroll shards themselves. And I believe I've gotten most, if not all, of the tournament rewards, although my tournament history doesn't reflect it. But you can see from my recording that I did when I opened things on desktop that I have mail for my tournament performances, and so I think I've gotten the correct amount of tournament stones, but I've lost a few stones from daily missions as these don't seem to have been retained in any way. Overall, it's just utter bizarre, but it seems like the two saves have somehow partially merged with each other. And as a result of not having all the gems had accumulated, it means among others that I suddenly don't have the wormhole redirector as ancestral anymore, which I shared 4 days ago that I got during my trip. As I wasn't expecting anything crazy or relevant to document while I was traveling, I didn't do any recordings during that time on my laptop while I was traveling, except for a short tournament run that I did on my mobile phone 2 days ago. But in it, you can see how I had wall rebuild, lowly built, wall invincibility, large shockwave size and low shockwave frequency, and 3 energy shields, 6 inner landmines, and so on, and other things that I no longer had yesterday after the save bug. Part of me is so annoyed and angry about all of this, especially as I took utmost care to ensure to handle the save aspect when getting back to my desktop. But part of me is just trying to tell myself that it's just a game and I'll get to where I was in a week or two. So anyways, it's gonna be a bit of a weird update where some of the things I basically have done but gotta do over again. The next week or two is just gonna be a major deja vu. And oh well, at least this video is gonna be crystal clear on what I will be doing ahead. So for my workshop, I'm still running orb devos, so my workshop still reflects that. As mentioned before, usually you would have bounce chance at 0, but this is higher because of astral deliverance substats for my tournaments, and it doesn't really affect my tournaments at all. But for the workshop, I have gotten regen from 5,900 to 6,000, so max, and I've got my wall health to 1,600. In my original laptop save, I had also done health up to 5,900 and some other upgrades like that, but it's back to 5,800 with lost progress. That's not a big deal, and these upgrades were just to make my AFK orb Devo runs even more AFK, as I eventually just want to have health and wall health to a stage where they're just maxed at the beginning of a run. This is not an urgent priority, and coins are still better spent elsewhere, but the increase in wall health to 1,600 was also to just make it easier to max it in Legend Tournament. It's not a big deal and not a very helpful factor in tournaments, but I might as well at least ensure it gets maxed in a tournament run. And in terms of enhancements, I haven't done that much, but I've gotten enemy level skips up to 1.13, and I've gotten coin plus from 124 to 128, and I've gotten recovery packages up to 153, and I've gotten attack speed up to 116. That's largely it in terms of enhancements, and the main focus remained the same as I mentioned in previous videos, and that is just to continue to upgrade enemy level skips, workshops, and enhancements going forward, with some occasional tips in enhancements for coin bonus and cells bonus, and maybe some more damage enhancements. And when I feel like I have a lot of spare cash, then maybe I'll work a little bit on maxing health and wall health, or at least level them some more, but it's not a priority as I can max these easily in Legend runs already. And then last, let me just show all of them quickly, and you can pause the screen if you want to. For Milestones, there's nothing new, and I did a ton of progress on Milestones a few weeks back, which you may have seen in the previous video. Soon though, I may try the tier 13 4,500 milestone run, but for now I don't want to spend time doing milestone runs. But once I need a crucial amount of stones to finalize something on the Chrono Field, then I will probably do so. Then for ultimate weapons, in the last video I said I was going to get Chrono Field next, and that's what I did, just so I could start the Chrono Field Duration Lab, which takes a lot of time. And thereafter I spent 250 stones to finish my inner landmines, as I realized I really want 6 mines to better stun the bosses now that my inner landmine rotation lab is maximized. I had to get these inner landmines quantity again to 6 yesterday though with the save bug, but I did actually in reality have it for the last 10 days or so. Then the focus for all my stones at the moment is very clear and straightforward. It's simply just for Chrono Field cooldown and duration, because all my focus is working towards getting Chrono Field permanent. Previously, I had considered the idea of maybe just save up stones to unlock smart missiles first while labbing the Chrono Field, but calculating the weekly stones earned from tournaments and that I don't get stone packs meant that it would be quite meaningless and bad to try to both develop Chrono Field and unlocking smart missiles at the same time. So instead, Chrono Field is 100% the focus for a while now. And so far I've taken the Chrono Field cooldown from 3 minutes to 140, and I've put no stones in duration just yet, but I have labbed the duration to level 16. And as mentioned, inner landmines I got that from 5 to 6, and I covered this in previous video, but just to briefly mention again, right now I'm not considering any stone spends towards Econ, and also not any towards Black Hole or Golden Tower duration, as I still don't have the Ancestral Galaxy Compressor for permanent Golden Tower and Black Hole. I've previously said that I don't see any point in investing more stones in Chain Lightning, as my Dimension Core had been legendary. Now it is mythic, which makes Chain Lightning a lot better, but I'm still prioritizing getting Chrono Field 100% uptime for now. And as mentioned before, I'm not considering the 4th beam on Spotlight right now. If I earned a lot more stones, I would get it, but right now I think it is a lot more feasible that I will first unlock all the ultimate weapons and get Golden Tower Plus before getting Spotlight, the 4th beam. Then let me just show you my ultimate weapons quickly, so you can see them in their full glory. So for my cards, I maxed those last event, and I'm really hoping to get more card slots soon, but I can't find it in my heart to do so until I get Ancestral Galaxy Compressor, as I just need one more copy for that. And this is a big reason to why it's so painful that I've basically lost many thousand gems because of the save issue. Now I gotta catch up with that lost 3,000 to 4,000 gems I had, And since it's seeded, I also know that I won't get any Galaxy Compressor among those pulls. And that's just super painful. I could make that a reason as to why I maybe want to unlock a card slot first though, maybe. But at the same time, it just prolongs it even longer to get that last copy I need, so I'm not really sure about that. Then for perks, I've continued my AFK Orb Devo approach, and in anticipation of future orbless strategies and perma, black hole, golden tower strategies, once I get my Galaxy Compressor, I have gotten the 6th ban, as I need more bans for orbless strategies to properly AFK efficiently. But this also has a nice small positive effect on Orb Devo as well, as then I could find the room to ban the extra orbs perk. And that's really it for perks. As mentioned many times, for my AFK Orb Devo approach, I have way more than enough auto pick perks. Back in the day I needed this many, but nowadays that I'm stronger, I could have managed with quite a few less, as I don't need any defense or health related perks. And then there's labs, and this is a confusing one, as this is where most of my previous progress has gone completely out of the window. I'll give you some idea of the lost things though, but then I'll just move on to focus on the things I have currently upgraded after the bug saved version. And then I'll just add a strike through text effect on top of some of the things lost. But to give you an idea, I lost about 4 levels of Chrono Field, as it was level 20 and it now is 16. I lost 2 levels in Deathwave coins, 1 level in Golden Bot duration, 5 levels lost in wall rebuild, 7 levels lost in wall invincibility, the energy shield extra hit was lost, 6 levels lost in shockwave size, 8 levels in crit factor, and so on. I'm not gonna bother mentioning them all, it's just too painful, but you get the point. But let's instead focus on the actual changes I have in front of me compared to the previous update video. And let's first recap on what I said was the future focus in the previous update video. So I finished the inner landmine rotation, and I have started the Chrono Field duration. I have maxed spotlight missiles. I have not gotten lab speed to level 70, but instead I've paused it at level 65. I have indeed done various damage in tournament related labs, and I've not done any of these last 3. I haven't bothered with the last 3 levels in enemy health skip due to the diminishing returns. I haven't found a spot for attack speed just yet, and I haven't found a spot for Shadow Lab just yet, as I still have felt there have been some key labs to get done first for tournament performance. So for lab speed, I've gotten that from level 62 to 65, and then I paused it. I simply paused it as I felt there are currently some key labs that will have much greater effect, and particularly in relation to focusing on my glass cannon build for tournaments, which leads me to the tournament focus related labs. So spotlight missiles, as mentioned, I've maxed. Inner landmine rotation, I've maxed. The inner landmine blast radius, I had gotten to level 17 originally, but that progress was lost, so it's still level 14. I'll level that up a few level again soon, but probably not gonna max it immediately due to the diminishing returns. Obviously, as mentioned, I've started Chrono Field duration. I also unlocked Chrono Field damage reduction. Later, once the uptime on Chrono Field improves, I will start to lab the Chrono Field damage reduction, the Chrono Field percentage damage reduction lab too. And then the wall rebuild I've taken from level 4 to 13. And I want to elaborate on why wall rebuild suddenly has become important. And that's because my ACP will soon finally be free from doing farming, and I can change its substats to be tournament focused. That's because I will get a wormhole redirector as Ancestral very soon. And I know this as I got it during my trip, but that I need to pull modules again now to get it back. But as it doesn't matter what armor module I run for my Orb Devo AFK farming, finally getting the wormhole redirector as Ancestral means that I can use it for farming once I get its substats sorted, so defense, health regen, wall health, and so on. And then I can start to work on turning my Anticube portal into proper Legend Tournaments module by swapping in more tournament focused substats. But anyways, what this means is that I now can have wall rebuild substat on my ACP. And by maxing wall rebuild labs plus substat, which results in a 300-second cooldown, I can ensure that the wall is up for every second boss on Legend Tournaments, so it will effectively work as an additional energy shield. In the future, I may want to fine-tune the wall to instead be 304 seconds, but that's for the future when I can lock in wall rebuild workshop stats. Right now, I have no way of reaching that, as free upgrades would ruin it in a run. And then I've gotten wall invincibility up to level 4, I'm just gonna max this to level 10. Then for energy shield, I had maxed that during my trip, but I gotta do it again because it's lost progress. And I had done quite a few levels in shockwave size, but I got to do that again. So it's now level 8, and I will just continue to level that up for a little while. And then in terms of damage labs for tournaments, I've gotten the damage from 35 to 40, and I've done crit factor from 41 to 44. I had originally done this quite a bit, but I have to redo a fair bit of it. And then for farming, I have, as mentioned, gotten another ban, and as mentioned in the previous video, I was in the process of getting wall region 16, just to make it so that my wall region catch up with my wall health. And I had originally done some more boosts to farming while being AFK overseas, but which is lost now in terms of death wave coins and golden bot duration. And basically, when I was taking early notes on my flight home of what I wanted to cover in this update video, I wanted to say that I would be permalabbing these two now. However, with the lost progress, I won't start Shadow Labs just yet, as I want some tournament improving upgrades done first again, but I am definitely permalabbing Chrono Field duration, and soon we'll do the same for Shadow Labs as well. And then just very quickly in terms of future focus and the split between the 5 lab slots. So as mentioned, I'm permalabbing Chrono Field duration, and will soon do the same for Shadow Labs. Eventually, I also want to open up a lab slot for Econ again. And part of this is actually more psychological than any immediate key benefit to my progress in the game, because it can be a bit demotivating to be looking at more or less the same income every farm run for a long time, although my tournaments are of course improving. And then I want a damage spot that is largely for crit factor and damage, but also chalk chance and other, and then a flex spot for whatever I feel like is important. For example, if I get my last copy of Ancestral Galaxy Compressor, I will prioritize package chance higher, and so forth. And then I quickly just wanted to show you the research history, which is going to illustrate the issue of my computer shutting down and the lost progress in terms of labbing. So basically, as you can see around here, every lab that maximized finished, whereas the 2 labs that were long labs, the Chrono Field and the band perks, they kept continuing to be labbing. And so that's why, if you notice my screen recording for when I got back on my desktop, there was only 2 labs running, and that was perks and the Chrono Field duration. And the weird thing is, you'll see this weird order as well, where Spotlight Missiles is 11th of February, but is somehow in between 14th of February, and the whole thing is just a bit wonky and weird. But this illustrates where all this lost progress went. Okay, and then I'm just gonna scroll through my labs, and you can pause this if you want to take a quick look. Then for tournaments, I earned 2 more keys, 4 in total now, and I did get my Dimension Core from Legendary to Mythic Plus, which has helped a lot. And so overall, I've been increasing my wavelength and glass cannon build quite a bit. Funnily enough though, due to the save bug, I can't show you the tournament history results. I mean, as you can see here, there is no other February results. But as you can see from my mails, I got the rewards, and I have indeed done the tournaments. But it's just this save bug that is kind of messing with the whole game. I wish I could recall exactly how far I got in the tournaments though, but I don't really fully remember that. But I were close to keys for most of the times, but not able to earn more keys. And then for the events, previously I had gotten my golden bot bonus from 5 to 5.2. And then I saved up medals for the next event to get the themes and backgrounds immediately, and I bought 1 set of stones for 40 medals. As I previously mentioned, I have stopped buying 2 of these each event, but I think I will continue to buy at least 1, though it may depend on if I'm close to having an important Chrono Field upgrade and so forth. And overall, the major pain about losing my progress is honestly having lost a lot of medals. Gems at least I can earn back of sorts, and labs I can do whenever, but the medals are basically forever gone. In my version before the save bug, I had gotten golden bot bonus to 5.4 and still had some medals to spare, and now I can't afford that at all. And one interesting news to share is that the event missions are actually slightly different from my previous save. On my laptop, I had the nuke mission, whereas on my desktop and latest game version, I instead have the demon mode of mission. Every other mission is exactly the same except for that one. I thought that was interesting, and I guess that means that there are a handful of event missions that are just RNG for each player. But I had always assumed everyone got the exact same missions, but I guess that's not the case anymore. And oh, I will be skipping the Absolute Defense Relic. And I also asked about this in a poll to the community to see if you also skip these relics or pick all. The majority takes everything, but it was interesting to see that I'm definitely not the only one who skips Absolute Defense. I don't think either side is wrong, and you just gotta do what you feel like. But personally, I have skipped them all to date, as I rather have wanted to spend the medals on Golden Bot. But, of course, I am a tiny bit worried about them one day make absolute defense relevant and I miss out on those previous relics. But I personally much rather spend medals on things that will give me gains now, particularly referring to the Golden Bot that nets me more coins, which again makes me stronger to earn even more coins, and so on, rather than spending medals on something that doesn't help at all currently and only could be some degree of beneficial, whether it's 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, or who knows. And if I'm wrong though, then come back here in the future to laugh at me. But I almost feel certain that the coin gains and quicker tower progress would have made up for it, regardless of how great absolute defense could become in the future. Though it's always hard to say for sure, of course, where I would have been if I had spent the medals on absolute defense relics. And now that my Golden Bot is in a very solid state with diminishing returns, maybe I start getting absolute defense relics? Maybe, but probably still not. Maybe once Golden Bot is maxed, maybe then. And it is also worth pointing out that this absolute defense relic is a rerun from over 1 year ago when it first appeared. And also, this event released the first Thorn relic, which is super impactful. As Matthew221 first brought up on his channel and rightly pointed out, this new event relic that gives 2% thorns will for most mean that you can free up an armor substat for something else than thorns. There are of course some strategies, particularly with wall and wall thorns, where you may want higher than 101% thorns total to take fewer wall hits. But in most cases 99 plus 2 is sufficient and means you take less hits. So that's pretty awesome. And here are my themes and relic bonus. And although I've been avoiding absolute defense, you can see that I've still gotten a fair bit through milestone runs and so forth. And here are my coin bonus. Then for modules, the main thing is really that I got Dimension Core to Mythic Plus. Funnily, I had gotten all the substats I wanted on it, but half of that is lost, so I will need to reroll for those before the next tournament tomorrow. Basically that I want the Spotlight bonus, Chain Lightning quantity, Chain Lightning chance, and Chain Lightning damage at this point on it. And overall for my modules, I'd gotten those from 119 to 122. It would have been around 123 if I hadn't lost the progress though. And I still need 1 copy for Ancestral Galaxy Compressor. But I have gotten some others to Ancestral, including BHD, Space Displacer, NMP, HB, all of those are now Ancestral. And so in terms of changes ahead, I will get the Dimension Core substats for tournaments again. So I mentioned the Chain Lightning quantity, damage chance, and SL bonus. And then, as I was mentioning among others in the intro, I also had one other major change with modules, but which you can't see yet here on the screen. And that is that I originally had gotten my wormhole redirector to Ancestral, which meant that I could finally start using that for farming and instead use the ACP only for tournaments and change its substat. And that was basically what I had. But with the lost progress, I gotta do that again, which is frustrating. But the funny thing is that a fair bit of my reroll shards are saved up though, so at least I got plenty to roll through. So for my wormhole redirector, I'm just gonna get defense, health regen, wall health, and something else on it. And then I can start to work on turning my anti-cube portal, my ACP, into a proper legend tournaments module by swapping in more tournament focused substats, such as shockwave frequency, wall rebuild, and death defy being my main 3 priorities, and then I'll see what I pick as a 4th, such as orbs or knockback or shockwave size. Thorns I will likely not bother with due to the event Thorn relic, but I may want Thorn substat in the future if it means some key difference to how many hits I can take from my wall and so forth. And to be clear about these anti-cube portal substats, those type of substats on ACP you wouldn't generally want for your plat or champ tournaments and so forth. But it's rather for Legends tournament where you need to go glass cannon and damage focus to progress effectively. If you're at an earlier stage in the game, you want more effective health substats instead. And basically until today, or well, a few days ago, but just that I have to do it again today, is when I've had effective health substats for my ACP. But so before Legend tournaments, you want more effective health substats. It all depends on exact build and a host of factors of course, but generally speaking, effective health is still king in everywhere from copper up until champ. So having such stats on your armor will help a lot more than stats that are focused on nuking and crowd controlling as hard and fast as you can. Basically, effective health can carry you quite effectively in all other tournaments. But where health basically stops mattering in legend tournaments, and so that's why you transition to a glass cannon. And there's also the lab consideration that some of those tournament-focused substats only shine after you've done a fair bit of glass cannon labs, such as wall rebuild substat is quite ineffective until you've also labbed the wall rebuild and wall invincibility and energy shield labs and so on. And that there are plenty more other important labs for you to do instead, most likely, if you're in between gold to champ tournaments. So that's why you don't necessarily want to go too early on the substats I am moving to now. But in many circumstances, one could transition to those type of substats a lot earlier than I have. For me, it has been delayed by the fact that I didn't have another ancestral armor and thus needed to have stats on my ACP that was vital for farming. But also overall that I've basically only recently gotten to the point where I kinda have a glass cannon build, where health is no longer really relevant and where I'm getting my wall rebuild cooldown maxed and so forth. So yeah. PS, don't use these substats if pre-legends. And later I want to develop my space displacer, as there may be some legend tournaments where it can be beneficial to run this because of all the inner landmines it creates and so forth. And lastly, I have had spotlight damage bonus on my ancestral multiverse nexus for a while because not that long ago my MVN was still outperforming my old legendary dimension core. That is no longer the case, especially now that I have mythic dimension core, but another reason that I've had the spotlight damage bonus on it is because it is a relevant substat to have for orbless strategies in the future. But I still haven't gotten my final copy of Galaxy Compressor to make this a reality, and so with these considerations I'm contemplating that I may want to replace the spotlight bonus with maybe Golden Tower duration or maybe Golden Tower or Deathwave cooldown. Probably the latter, as then I am immediately ready for perma Black Cold and Golden Tower once I get Ancestral Galaxy Compressor. And I could reduce my Golden Bot cooldown and sync further. So here you got my modules. All of these I then have to change, which is going to take a lot of rerolls. Possibly change this. Galaxy Compressor, still mythic. And then I gotta reroll these back as well. And lastly, in terms of my gameplay, nothing has really changed and I continue to run my AFK Orb Devo. I've got my max wavelength up a few hundred waves from 8,700 to basically 9,000, which was helped by getting the level 16 in wall region. And I've increased the record run from 58 trillion to 73 trillions, and my peak CPM from about 170 billion to 200 billion. This increase was largely a result of the coin event themes and slightly longer runs. And of course, originally my econ had improved a fair bit more, as I'd done 2 levels in Deathwave coins and 1 level in Golden Bot duration, but that's lost. But luckily though, in all of this save bug mess, I somehow retained and didn't lose all my coins, at least not all of it. And so my lifetime coins have gone from 3.8 quadrillion to 5.4 quadrillions now. And in terms of cells, I'm still earning the same as before, around 190,000 cells per run. But overall, the farming hasn't really changed at all. I start a run, upgrade enemy attack level skips occasionally. Eventually, later in the run, I click once to max my health, my wall health, and my landmine chance. I don't need to do region anymore because I've maxed that, and that's it, nothing else. Chain lightning, spotlight missiles, inner landmines are all turned off, and I don't touch damage workshop upgrades at all, as my sync time is so low that it doesn't matter. And it doesn't get me longer in a run. The only thing I keep testing is all kind of ranges, which is why you also see my workshop range is at 0. And so yeah, that's it in terms of overall update. It's been a bit of an emotional roller coaster losing various progress, but oh well, I can't do anything about it right now. But I just really hate how wonky the save mechanism in this game is. I don't know what I did wrong about the saving aspect, as I've done that many times before when I've traveled and come home after a few days. The only potential difference this time around was that my desktop internet speed was quite slow at the moment when I pulled up the game, but I'm not sure how that should matter and cause this chaos. But anyways, I'm just sharing to help speculate in terms of why. Overall, this just leaves me super worried about ever using another device in the future. And also, I think my laptop had updated its time zone before all of this, but I just want to note that I had been in a country with a different time zone previously. Though again, I don't see how that should matter when I anyways made the final laptop save at home before turning on the desktop and doing this. And so yeah, this has me really worried about the save mechanism in the future. If I were to somehow lose access to my desktop game via remote access tools in the future, then I'm not really sure what I'll do. I guess I just focus on tournaments and approach everything else with a chance that it may or may not get lost. But okay, that's all for today. I'm not super excited about basically replaying my last 10 days over again, but it's what I gotta do. And oh, lastly, some of you may have noticed this, but I did some quizzes while I was gone, and I just wanted to mention that, and so just let me know if you enjoyed that or want more of it. And oh, probably in the next update video I will share a lot more details about my rerolling and so forth, when I've gotten the modules and know are incoming and I've sorted out my wormhole redirector as the new farming armor and ACP to be tournament focused and so on. But I guess on that note, let's at least pull some modules with these gems I have on hand. I don't recall the exact order, but hopefully it shouldn't be too far away from the final wormhole redirector copy, so let's see. But since I originally got that 4 days ago, I guess it may be another 5-6 days until I get it though. Yeah, still some time until I get that last wormhole redirector.